Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining us on today's webinar, How to Access Your Desktop Anywhere, Anytime with Amazon Workspaces. I'm Nicole Jones from TechSoup, and I'll be getting things started before turning it over to our guest speaker. And as you're getting settled in, let us know where you're tuning in from. So I'm tuning in from Oakland. Drop it in the chat, and you can find that in your Zoom control panel. You'll see a chat button there. Let us know where you're tuning in from today. All right, while we see some of those responses come in, let's go over some housekeeping. So all lines are muted, but you'll be able to ask questions at any time by typing them into your Q&A panel at the bottom of your Zoom menu. And you can also ask questions and share comments in the audience chat, but if you have specific questions for our presenter today, to please drop them into the Q&A. And then chat's a great place to see other nonprofits talking about resources and tips that they have on today's topic. And you will receive an email with a recording of this webinar in addition to the slides and any resource links that were mentioned throughout the webinar. So if you missed anything, don't worry, you can go back and watch at your leisure. And let's see where we have some people joining in from today. We've got Tina from Maryland. We've got Jamin from Atlanta, Donald from New York City. We've got Jared from San Diego, Melissa from Minneapolis, and many more friends joining us today. Welcome, it's great to see you here. Okay, so a little bit about TechSoup. We are a global network bridging tech solutions and services for good. You might know TechSoup for its software program, but we're much more than that. We also provide support, training, community, and more to help over 1 million nonprofits in more than 200 countries and territories around the world. And we absolutely love to be your resource partner. And this is made possible by the more than 100 corporate donors and providers of software, hardware, and services who have chosen the TechSoup platform to create and grow impactful and kind donation programs. You can check out all the great offerings from our partners by visiting our nonprofit tech marketplace at techsoup.org/get-product-donations, and we'll drop that in the chat. Okay, so before we get on to today's content, I also want to share this special resource page at TechSoup.org for nonprofits impacted by COVID-19. Here you'll find tools to support remote work, training courses from TechSoup, policy resources, webinars, workshops, much more. And we just updated this page to feature some new resources, so do check it out. It's a really good one to bookmark, and we'll make sure that we also include this link in the chat. Okay, and now on to introductions. Once again, I'm Nicole Jones at TechSoup, and we're joined by Stephen Davidson, who will be assisting us with our chat. And on today's webinar, we are joined by Andrew Defoe. I hope I got that right. You can correct me. Apologies if not. Andrew is an AWS senior manager with decades of experience managing, designing, enabling, and implementing digital global technology solutions for nonprofit and other public sector customers. It's a delight to have him here. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Stephen, so much for hosting us today. Looking forward to the session. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So the topic for today's session is really about remote work and also learning, and really focusing on some solutions that AWS can offer to enable and accelerate some of these remote scenarios. What we'll do is kind of go through an agenda. I do have some opportunities today to go through a brief demo as well, so you can kind of see if you're an administrator, what that experience looks like. How do you get started? What are some of the key features and capabilities of some of our services, particularly Amazon Workspaces? If you're an end user and you want to kind of get a sense of how can a user stay productive and securely work from home or from any location, to be able to remain productive and to continue continuity of work, I'll go through that as well. I'm Andrew Defoe, Business Development Manager for AWS and our Worldwide Public Sector team. I work with a number of our segments, including nonprofits, to help our customers, especially right now with a lot of these work and remote challenges. So the agenda is, again, really focusing on, and I think this is no surprise to anyone, but just kind of touching on some of the key trends that we see and how we see work changing as we work with our customers. And of course, even Amazon itself is adjusting to the new normal, and how we think about things like onboarding new employees, implementing self-service techniques so that employees can take more control and to be able to be more productive with reduced IT and administrative burden. So a lot of these things that we're doing, we obviously work with our customers to implement so that you can be successful and scale and be agile in this new normal. We'll also focus on the services and solutions that AWS can bring to bear to support remote users of all types. We'll talk about obviously why AWS for remote work and learning. And then we'll go through a brief demonstration and then kind of close things off with some next steps and some special offers that are available right now to help you get started. And so today's nonprofit organizations obviously understand that before COVID-19 impacted all of us, organizations were developing strategies to enable disparate workforce consisting of end users in different locations in the US and even around the world. Contingent workers that may only be affiliated with the organization seasonally or for a specific project or response or relief effort, and users that require different levels of access to your organization's data and applications. And so the way we had been working was indeed changing. And of course, COVID-19 has impacted and really permanently likely impacted all of how we kind of think about the traditional office and how users stay productive. Additionally, we hear from our customers that entire supply chains have really been disrupted due to the pandemic, meaning that in a lot of cases, organizations can't life cycle their PCs and other infrastructure the way they used to. It's not clear how that trend will continue. You have increases in demand for equipment, as well as the disruptions to supply chains. And so customers are looking for more opportunities and more efficient options to onboard new employees, new workers, new users, give them the resources they need to work securely. And really, it's just about anywhere, anytime, any device. AWS is definitely in a position to help nonprofit organizations implement these kinds of strategies. As COVID-19 has impacted how we live, work, and communicate, organizations need to maintain continuity. Users of all types working from home is a reality. This does obviously put a lot of pressure on IT organizations to ensure that the users have access they need to stay secure without compromising productivity and the mission for those end users. AWS does offer a range of services and solutions to help organizations scale their technology and also infrastructure for all types of users. We do focus a lot on remote workers and employees, also students, and specifically contact center agents with some of our solutions. So if you are thinking about ways to respond to increased demand for the mission and the services that you provide, you may need to think about the opportunity to expand your contact center presence, even for a short period of time, but be able to scale your communication capabilities. These are the services and solutions that AWS is providing and helping customers implement. And so a little more about some of these services and capabilities. We'll focus a lot today on the cloud desktop and application and content collaboration areas of our solutions, but we do offer a range of services, including remote collaboration and communication, virtual contact center, and also secure remote network access. So starting at the top, and we'll focus a lot on this service today, Amazon WorkSpaces is our managed secure desktop as a service solution. It'll help mobile and remote users access the applications and desktop resources anywhere. All they need is an internet connection and any supported device, which is pretty much any device out there today. With Amazon WorkSpaces, your users are going to get a fast, responsive desktop of their choice that they can access anywhere, anytime. And I'll go through a demonstration of that experience, both in how to set it up, what to think about, and then also what the end user experience is on the desktop. AppStream 2.0 is a fully managed application streaming service. With AppStream, your users can access the desktop applications they need from a browser or from a native client app. A little bit different solution than WorkSpaces. AppStream is very much focused on sort of those transactional scenarios. You may have business processes that you need to extend remotely for some of your employees and users that may not necessitate a PC-like experience. It may be about data entry into a specific secure app. It may be about data access or high compute scenarios. But you have an opportunity with AppStream to extend those business processes remotely and to be able to scale up and down elastically based on the demand for those applications at any point of time, every hour of every day. Very cost-effective solution, a highly scalable solution to address specific business processes that are very transactional in nature. WorkDocs is our service that makes it easier to collaborate with other users, and able to share content, rich feedback, collaborate, ensure data loss prevention by versioning your documents and your data, substitute and replace traditional file shares. We also offer some bundling opportunities with WorkDocs and WorkSpaces so that as a WorkSpaces desktop user, you have access to a very scalable storage solution that requires little or no management. And we have some bundled pricing with that service as well that I'll share with you. And then kind of rounding out the bottom of the list here in terms of Chime Connect and Client VPN. Chime lets you meet, chat, and place business phone calls in a single secure application from anywhere. Connect is our contact center, virtual contact center as a service that allows you to scale your capabilities for your contact center use cases. Agents, supervisors, managers, admins can work from home, still be able to perform at all their normal contact center activities. Agents can make and replace calls. Supervisors can monitor and coach agents in real time. Managers can view dashboards, run reports, monitor service levels. So all those capabilities can be extended and scaled using AWS in the cloud to extend the ability for you to provide interactions with your customers and your users. And then, of course, our secure remote access solution, Client VPN. It's a fully managed pay-as-you-go VPN service. It allows you to scale to support thousands of remote users. So if you are thinking about opportunities to extend VPN and you have concerns about your infrastructure and how that can scale to meet that demand, Client VPN is a great choice to be able to extend your network to anywhere in a pay-as-you-go type of method. And so let's kind of focus on, why AWS, for remote work and learning scenarios. Really, it's about gaining the control and confidence that you need to enable remote work from any of those home or anywhere scenarios. Security at AWS really starts with our core infrastructure. We do have, of course, that infrastructure is custom built for the cloud. It's designed to meet the most stringent security requirements in the world. Our infrastructure is monitored 24/7. It helps ensure the confidentiality, the integrity, the availability of your data, and you can rely on the AWS global infrastructure, knowing you always have control of your data, where you place it, how you can retrieve it, including the ability to encrypt, manage, move that data, manage retention. All of that is under your control. From a scalability perspective, AWS provides the agility to onboard just a few users, if that's all you need, or tens of thousands of users in response to even normal business cycles or even unplanned events. We saw firsthand how customers are able to take advantage of the scale of AWS and the cloud to be able to react to these unplanned events, especially stay-at-home orders, being able to respond more to needs of the public, of certain constituency groups, whether it was benefits, whether it was healthcare, whether it was just typical civic services. Our government, nonprofit, and education customers were able to use the cloud and use services like WorkSpaces, AppStream, Connect, and other services to scale in hours to be able to respond to that unplanned scenario. And so from a scalability standpoint, AWS does enable organizations to be extremely flexible, take advantage of the scalability of the cloud. You don't have to over provision resources. You can scale up to meet those peak levels, scale down when you no longer need those resources. You have the ability to do that for a few users, for tens of thousands of users. And so really thinking about the cloud and AWS as a platform allows you to adjust to those changing needs and the uncertainty, unfortunately, that the future likely has in store for all of us without having to lock in, without having to worry about the peak infrastructure needs that you may have. We do that with minimum monthly fees, no long-term commitment, no upfront license charges. It's all pay as you go. Within a few clicks, you can set up remote work scenarios, whether it's a desktop, whether it's a contact center. You pay for what you need. You can scale up and down as those needs change and take advantage of the scale and agility of AWS. And so we'll focus now on our cloud desktop application and content collaboration services, WorkSpaces, AppStream, and WorkDocs. And so some of the challenges facing all customers today, especially in the nonprofit space, is how do you provide and maintain, business productivity for users that are working from home? How do you quickly provision remote access? How do you onboard a new user into your organization, given that you may not be able to ship a device if you can't access and procure that equipment? If that user happens to be at a distance and there's not a convenient way to procure that resource, how do you do that in a more agile fashion, especially as the demands for your mission expand? How do you quickly respond to that and onboard new users on a contingent basis or based on specific relief or efforts that are underway? And then how do you maintain control, most importantly, about your sensitive data? How do you ensure the data is not exfiltrating those remote sessions and ending up on an end user's device? How do you protect against that and still keep users productive? And these are the challenges that are facing really all organizations today, but especially facing nonprofit organizations. Amazon WorkSpaces is, again, our secure managed desktop as a service solution. It will help remote and mobile employees access the applications and desktops they need. We'll go into detail on this particular service today. We think about WorkSpaces as a secure desktop. It's really a PC in the cloud. The ability, obviously, to take advantage of the features of WorkSpaces, it's really about simplifying the delivery of a desktop to your end user. You can eliminate a lot of the administrative tasks associated with managing and delivering and onboarding desktops, including provisioning, procurement, deployment, maintenance, recycling, a lot of those challenges which carry a lot of cost and obviously provide, in some cases, a lack of agility. You can address those issues and modernize and simplify your desktop lifecycle. From a security perspective, WorkSpaces is deployed within an Amazon virtual private cloud. And so essentially that's a private addressing space. You fully control the ingress and egress of all data in that desktop environment. Users will connect over the internet to those resources, but once inside of that session, it is completely secure and you control all of the data movement in and out of that desktop environment. Every user will get access to a persistent desktop experience with the ability to encrypt in transit and at rest at no additional charge. We do integrate with our key management service, so you can utilize our key infrastructure. You can bring your own keys. We do not store or allow any data to be moved out of the desktop onto the end user's local device. So if they're logging in from a personally owned PC, a tablet, or other mobile device, a Chromebook, you have the ability to control how the data is moved to those endpoints. And in most cases, that means not allowing any data to be moved to those endpoints, which gives you the ability to keep your data secure. You can quickly scale your desktop deployments. We'll go through a couple of different examples and patterns of that. WorkSpaces is available in multiple AWS regions around the world. It does provide access to high performance desktops where you need them, when you need them. So if you have a single user in a disparate location in the field that needs access to a desktop, you can provide and scale to a single user, hundreds of users, thousands of users. You can rapidly provision and deprovision. Again, we saw that firsthand with our customers responding to stay at home and the ability to scale out earlier in the year, where we saw tens of thousands of users accessing a desktop resource. In some cases, users that had never worked remotely or outside of an office before, now we're doing so, and organizations were able to use WorkSpaces to scale very quickly. And again, as users return to the office, WorkSpaces provides an equal number of benefits in the office as well as outside of the office. It's a consistent experience. It stays with the user, keeps them productive, and you have the resources at your fingertips to be able to scale and manage your desktop deployments in a way that you haven't done before. And from a cost reduction perspective, WorkSpaces will eliminate the need to overbuy desktop resources, laptop resources, physical infrastructure, virtual desktop infrastructure. All of that, that infrastructure can be eliminated with WorkSpaces, leaving you in a predictable, pay-as-you-go kind of a a capex model, or sorry, opex model that eliminates capex and allows you to just pay for the resources you need, especially if you see a lot of fluctuation in the number of users that you manage. If you have differing needs, contingent users, global users, you'll definitely find the opportunity to get value from WorkSpaces. AppStream 2.0 is a fully managed application streaming service. It allows you to access desktops and applications remotely from any location. Similar to WorkSpaces, we extend desktops and applications via the internet to any user anywhere on any device. AppStream is a little bit different from WorkSpaces in that it really is focusing on transactional use cases where you need to sign into a session, complete some work, sign out. We do layer persistent data and storage, but the benefit of AppStream really is the ability to elastically scale and access key applications and resources to complete mission critical business processes. And so if you have a scenario where you're looking to extend a key application or a catalog of applications or a desktop resource or a kiosk to a set of end users, AppStream can absolutely fulfill those kinds of use cases, whereas WorkSpaces is really focusing on end user productivity and providing a complete PC-like experience in the cloud. Both of these services can also work together. AppStream does have a range of instance types and hardware configurations that make it really cost effective. If you have high compute requirements, accelerated graphics, GIS, for example, you may want to extend those applications that require a high degree of compute so that you can really couple the needs of the application with the underlying infrastructure and then scale elastically based on demand for those resources so that at peak you have the resources that you need, and as demand diminishes in off hours, nights, weekends, seasonally, if you have different demands, you can scale down to zero when you don't have demands for those resources. So it's very cost effective, highly scalable, highly agile to enable those business processes, especially remotely. And so with AppStream, it's about delivering desktop applications to any computer with an internet connection. It gives you the ability to centrally manage those applications as well. And so if you today are dealing with scenarios where you have to ship software, have end users download and install and provide licenses, AppStream can help you centralize the management of those applications where you can do application updates, you can manage your licenses in a single location, and just have the users access those applications through AppStream so that nothing has to be installed locally. You can keep all of your data that's associated with those applications in a central location, integrate your IT, and so it does integrate seamlessly with single sign-on, ID providers, Active Directory, and so that you can have your users access those resources securely and have nothing leave the session. The user can access it from a Mac, a Chromebook, a Windows device, a tablet. Nothing, all it needs is an internet connection, and you're able to be productive. It will help you reduce your IT spend primarily because these are services that are pay-as-you-go, do not require any upfront costs, and can scale elastically to support the needs as they change, essentially on an hourly basis. And then WorkDocs is our secure solution for sharing, collaborating on documents and data, both internally to your organization as well as externally. So if you do have external parties that you share information with, WorkDocs can be a facilitator for that external sharing activity. What it allows you to do is virtually store any type of file on WorkDocs. You can eliminate traditional network and folder share resources. The user can just experience it via browser, a mobile app, or on the desktop using a simple and familiar kind of file share experience, which I'll demonstrate. But it gives you the ability to store any type of file. Any user using WorkDocs has access to terabytes of storage they can utilize to store information. It's all backed by our object storage service in Amazon S3. So you have the reliability and durability of that data as it's preserved inside of the WorkDocs service. And so we provide things like unlimited versioning and backup. So if you have a scenario where a user maybe have been compromised with their data and information was deleted, you can always go back to a prior version of that data and restore it. We do have data retention policies that by default will allow you to store up to either from 60 days to a year. And so you have a lot of capabilities there to protect against data loss or accidental deletion of data and really supercharge and migrate away from those traditional file share solutions that worked pretty well on premises and in the office, but from a remote perspective, probably doesn't do the job. WorkDocs is definitely a solution that can help you modernize that experience while keeping it familiar for the end users that know and understand that kind of trusted mounted drive and folder share experience. This is a service that is fully compliant, so it is HIPAA eligible. You can manage that with PHI, PCI data as well. And so for your regulated data, WorkDocs is absolutely a service that you can take advantage of. And so let's kind of end the presentation now. We're going to switch over to a demonstration. I'll take you through WorkSpaces today. We'll focus on the administrative experience and kind of what it takes to provision, things you can think about, different options that you have, and then we'll show the end user experience, how to log in, what to think about, and of course, what the end user will experience inside of their WorkSpaces session. So with that, let me go ahead and end the slideshow here, and I'm going to share out my my browser, and we're connected to the AWS Management Console. So for those that are familiar with AWS, the screen should look very familiar. For those that are not familiar, no problem. We'll just take it from the top. AWS Management Console, and so by region, you can manage all of your AWS resources within your account. And so we'll drill into the WorkSpaces Management Console, and we'll take you through some different concepts and kind of give you a tour of the service. And so WorkSpaces is all about providing persistent personal desktops in the cloud for your users, and those can be mainline permanent employees, they can be contingent staff, they can be contractors, they can be affiliated, federated users. It's really all about the different use cases and personas that you have in your organization and how you need to provide desktop resources for those users from any location. It all starts with WorkSpaces by defining a directory. And so this is really about integrating WorkSpaces with your Active Directory infrastructure. That can be infrastructure that is running in the cloud. It can be infrastructure running in the data center. Doesn't matter. We'll connect to it wherever it is. And then once you have that directory configured, we can kind of take a look at some configuration options. And don't worry about all the details, really just think about some of the key concepts and capabilities that we offer with the service to help you figure out what is appropriate for your use cases. And so we have the ability within, for example, a directory. So this is sort of a container for a group of workspaces. The directory will determine where on the network a workspace will live. You may want to have a workspace that is tightly coupled to your existing network. And so your existing IT services and resources in the data center or in the cloud can be connected privately. You may want this to be a totally separate enclave that is only utilized to access a certain type of data or an application, or you may just want this to be totally separate from the rest of your network and is just there to facilitate access for, let's say, contingent staff or users that are entering and leaving your organization. You fully control where a workspace is deployed on your network, in the perimeter, or in a completely separate part of your network. And so the first choice is where inside of AD, your Active Directory, you want these machines to live. What's important here is that workspaces, when they are joined to a domain, are just like any other desktop on your network. You can utilize all of the work that you've done to build out policies and GPOs and all those things. You can inherit that into your workspace and take advantage of all the same policies that you're accustomed to. We're not expecting customers to reinvent how they think about desktop management. We want to help you conform workspaces into your existing environment so that you can leverage all of those policies to keep your environment compliant and secure. We do provide capabilities like stateful firewalls, and so you can add a firewall and a security group to the network interface on the desktop so that you can control ingress and egress. Customers often ask, hey, can I bring my own firewall technology and antivirus and other client security solutions? And the answer is absolutely yes. We have some best practices and guidance, but customers often will bring existing technologies and security tools to workspaces to keep them secure and consistent. If you don't have those solutions in place today, obviously we do offer the firewall features as well as partners, marketplace options where you can bring in antivirus or additional security techniques for web filtering, antivirus, etc. to be able to provide a complete solution. And so we can work with the solutions that you have or provide you with a net new solution if you're looking to build an environment from the ground up. These workspaces and these options do provide access to the internet. You do, however, control that. We do have a number of customers that will implement workspaces simply for private access to sensitive data. Maybe it's healthcare data, PII, research data sets, whatever you're working with within your organization. If you want to have a secure method to access that's isolated from the internet and other resources, WorkSpaces is a great solution to enable those kinds of use cases, because you can build a secure enclave with the connectivity to that data, all the tool sets that a user would need to interact with that data, but they would not have the access to the internet or other resources to exfiltrate that information. And so you can absolutely build secure environments that are separate from the internet. Of course, the user will access this desktop from the internet, but once the session is established, we encrypt that data and that traffic. All the user is receiving is an encrypted pixel stream. There's no data that's being exfiltrated down to the end user's device. We can disable things like clipboard and file sharing so that all the user has is pixels where they can securely interact with that data, but the data never leaves that secure enclave. We do offer a range of different access control options. So from a security perspective, multiple layers of security to protect a workspace and the users that are accessing the workspace. We do offer a concept called trusted access and trusted devices. And so when a user typically logs into a workspace, they will always need their AD credentials, but they will optionally also need to have a certain device that is trusted with a client certificate to be able to access their workspace's session. And so we can trust the user, we can trust the device if you need to provide multiple layers of security to access it. We do provide end-to-end encryption. We also offer FIPS 140-2. So if you happen to be working in a regulated industry with data that requires FIPS 140-2, we've got you covered. These are services that are FedRAMP compliant and ready to support the strictest non-classified workloads in our commercial regions and also in GovCloud. So if you need that, it's there. And then you can control the different kinds of platforms that your users will access. And so web access, accessing from an iPad, an Android phone or tablet, Chromebook, a Zero client, a Linux device. You can check and uncheck these devices to control and determine how you want to support those devices and what's appropriate for your use cases. We do offer additionally, the user has to log in. We can trust the user. We do offer multi-factor authentication as well. And so I'll demonstrate that, but you can have the user enforce a two-factor login sequence so that a user has to have a YubiKey or a virtual app. We work with a number of different providers from an identity perspective, whether it's Okta, AWS SSO, and other providers to be able to leverage those multi-factor capabilities with your login so that you can protect that. As I said, we're also showing the ability to secure the device and ensure that only certain devices can access. We also extend to be able to support certain IP ranges. And so you can also control where a user is located in terms of their gateway IP address before connecting to a workspace. This is great if you always want to ensure that, for example, you want to couple a workspace, let's say with VPN, so that a user can only get to their workspace if they're already running on your VPN and on your network. And so there's lots of layers of security here that you can take advantage of. And this is why the most secure workloads are being utilized through workspaces to address security, compliance, and keep users productive, but keep the data secure first and foremost. So once you kind of configure that environment, you're ready to launch a workspace. I'll just take you through that briefly. So you can kind of see all the moving parts and different options. Most of our customers, especially at scale, some of the key benefits of workspaces is really about how you can automate the life cycle of your desktops for your users, especially if you have a lot of volatility in your desktop users and how often you're creating them, how often you're tearing them down. These are, of course, are resources that can live indefinitely. For example, at Amazon, you can receive a corporate workspace that is provisioned for you, that is essentially your access method. Since COVID, Amazon has actually been onboarding new employees. So new Amazonians have actually been receiving a workspace instead of a traditional HP laptop or Mac. A lot of that has to do with cost and of agility. Also, a lot of it also has to do with supply chains for those devices are really stretched right now. And so we use workspaces here at Amazon to onboard new employees. We have customers that are doing the same. And so these can be the devices and desktops that are provisioned for an indefinite period of time, but they can also be provisioned just for a short use case. You may have a project that is implementing for a month, 2 months, where you need a burst of access for a number of users. Maybe it's a charity activity that's seasonal, and you need to have users get access to be able to complete their activities around that charity and giving and that mission. And you may have a scenario where once that is complete, you want to wind down and terminate those resources. That's absolutely what you can do with a service like Workspaces. Pay for what you use month over month, pay by the month, pay by the hour, stay agile with your desktop environment. And so when you launch a workspace, I'm doing it through the console. We also offer a range of APIs, and I'll show you an example of why our APIs allow you to do some really interesting things around automation. But I'll click through here, I'll select a directory, I'll just look at my users inside of my AD, and I'll just grab one of these. And so you can provision users one at a time, you can provision users in bulk. What we always recommend for our customers is to think about what's optimal for your deployment strategy and automate, again, as much as possible. That in some cases might mean you would tie this process to an event. Maybe it's an onboarding of a new employee. If you're utilizing ticketing systems like ServiceNow, you can build entire catalogs of desktop resources so that your business users can build a desktop environment with minimal or no IT involvement. And so this is really where you can operationalize workspaces, get away from kind of the traditional PC lifecycle and all the challenges around provisioning. You have all the capabilities to build a world-class, fully automated process to scale your desktop users for a small group of users or tens of thousands of users. And so for each user, you can select what we call a bundle. It's basically just a combination of a software image, operating system, applications, essentially your gold image. We provide some base bundles. So we offer Windows, we offer Linux, we offer Office license included, which is another option as well if you have scenarios where you don't want to have a license agreement to be able to utilize a workspace, especially temporarily. You can just pay as you go and have a fully configured workspace with Office license included on a pay-as-you-go basis, which provides a lot of flexibility. You also have, of course, the ability to bring licenses. If you need to bring, for example, your Win 10 licenses, we offer those capabilities as well with the Bring Your Own License program. But in this configuration, a bundle is basically just the operating system, the applications, the configuration, CPU, memory, and storage. You're never locked in with any of these options. And so if you do launch a user into a particular configuration, you always have the flexibility to change that configuration. And I'll show you some examples of how that can be done. So we'll go ahead and select here a performance workspace with Windows and Office. And I'll go ahead and keep the storage options the same. And so we do have the option to customize storage. Each user can receive up to 2 terabytes on their root volume, the C drive, as well as their D drive, which is where we store the user data. But you can customize that. Once the workspace is launched, you also have the ability to customize that and change it. And so that can be done down to the individual user level. And what's really important about that is with our APIs and with the console, you never are locked into a configuration, and you can meet the needs of every individual user in your organization based on what they need to complete their work productively and securely. And so if you need more CPU, more memory, more storage, if you need to adjust that, you have absolutely the ability to do that as you go without having to tear down and rebuild those machines. And so it's very flexible, gives you the ability to not to have to be on that kind of PC lifecycle treadmill where every couple of years you're shelling out thousands of dollars on a new laptop or a new device. You can grow that user and change their configuration as you go to be able to react to changing demands. And the other benefit of that is you can take advantage of the latest technologies from AWS. It's a new instance type, new storage. In most cases, the trend is for those costs to go down, performance to go up. All you have to do is click a few buttons and you can take advantage of those newer capabilities. And so that really helps you over time modernize and get away from those traditional costs, especially around CapEx and infrastructure investment. All those problems kind of go away. And so once you've selected that bundle for the user, you can select things like running mode. And so running mode essentially says, how do you want to pay for the workspace? We offer an always on mode for a user that is essentially using the workspace as their full-time desktop for their interaction with your organization. So for my example, I might have a corporate workspace, and I do, and I utilize that workspace every day. It's my primary desktop when I come to work every morning. And so I can log into that workspace. My email's all there, all my files and access. I have tight, fast connectivity to our corporate network. And so everything is snappy and I have a great experience. I can access large files. I can run reports. It all happens right from my corporate workspace, and nothing ever leaves that workspace to my local device. Always on is recommended. It's a flat monthly rate depending on the configuration that you've selected for that user. And it's very ideal for those full-time desktop scenarios. Auto stop is more of an option for scenarios where you want to provide the same kind of persistent, PC in the cloud experience, but the desktop is not necessarily the user's full-time desktop, or maybe the user is a part-time user, or maybe the desktop is just being utilized to access specific data, applications, or business processes. So in that scenario, what you can do is toggle to an auto stop option where you can now pay by the hour with a smaller fixed cost for the storage and backup instead of a flat monthly rate. Typically, if you utilize the workspace less than 90 hours a month, the auto stop will be more cost effective. The user is still provided with a persistent desktop experience, but you can pay a lower amount if the workspace is really being utilized sporadically or just occasionally, depending on the use case. Cool thing about this is you can toggle between different configurations. And we also have some optimization packs that can run analytics in your environment and at scale can make recommendations or automate the selection of auto stop versus always on based on actual usage patterns. And so what we always try to do at AWS is help customers optimize their resources, never pay and utilize more than what they need. And these different options allow you to maintain a consistent experience, but change the way you pay based on actual usage patterns. And then of course we offer encryption. So we do utilize KMS and block storage encryption so that you can meet requirements, for example, HIPAA or PCI compliance. And so this is an option, but we highly recommend enabling encryption so that your data in your workspace is secure at rest and of course in transit, which is always on by default. With those configurations, and of course, if you're using AWS, we always recommend a robust tagging policy so that you can track those workspaces by cost center, by security or data classification, utilize tags as much as you possibly can and take advantage of those best practices so that you can manage your resources. A lot of our customers treat workspaces as assets because they're long-lived, they work inside of the AWS environment, so you can tag those essentially as digital assets inside of your organization and manage the cost and chargeback, especially if you're a large organization and need the ability to do that. So tagging is a very powerful tool inside of AWS, and every resource inside of workspaces can be tagged and tracked. Once that's all done, you're off and running, and you will have a workspace provision within anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, depending on if you selected encryption. And once provisioned, that resource is available for the user to access. All they need is the client app, their credentials and a registration code, and they're off and running. So it's a great way to be able to onboard new users, provide remote access, scale your environment and your office to any location, essentially anywhere around the world, to be able to meet the needs, especially right now with the uncertainty of where users need to be located. Once they return to the office, we expect to see, I know this is going to be true at Amazon, probably kind of flexible workplace models where you have hoteling, different kind of uses of office space where you're not going to have the traditional office model where you log in to your typical PC workstation. You need the agility and the flexibility for that resource to be wherever the user happens to be. Keep them secure, keep them productive. That's really what WorkSpaces is all about. I do want to show you, before I go into the end user demo quickly, just some examples of how we at Amazon utilize and automate workspaces, and also how you can implement this in your own organization, either using our partner solutions that are available in Marketplace, our professional services, or if you have the resources, you can build your own capabilities utilizing our SDKs. But here's an example of essentially a self-service dashboard where I, as a corporate user, can log into a website and I can essentially manage my workspace directly. For example, I can click in here and I have the ability to perform certain tasks. Go ahead and refresh this. Of course, I'm off the VPN, so I didn't exactly plan for that. Let me go ahead and log in again. Hopefully I'll be able to connect and I'll show you this off the VPN. Okay, there we go. So what I have here, and this is all possible through the WorkSpaces APIs, but I can do really interesting things from a self-service perspective to keep me productive. And of course, you can control all of this, but here's an example where myself as a corporate user can log in and I can update or modify the underlying PC specs on my workspace. So I can change the CPU memory and the configuration. I can adjust my storage if need be. And of course, there's always cost implications to these selections, so that you may want to have an administrative option or an approval tier. We see a lot of integrations, for example, with ServiceNow, where the user makes a request and instead of it instantly happening, it actually goes to an approver before that takes place. And so we offer ServiceNow connectors for workspaces. I can adjust the running mode option if I want that always on versus on demand, and I can look at utilization to see what's appropriate. What's really powerful here from an end user's perspective, and this is really about reducing the IT administrative burden, I can do things like reboot my workspace remotely. I can do things like restore my workspace. Restore essentially is a feature automatically up to 12 hours. Workspace is part of the cost of the service is backed up. And so the C drive, the D drive, the root user volumes, we snapshot those on a regular basis. The cost of those snapshots, again, is part of the service. It's all built in. But we're also doing health checks of the workspace when we do those snapshots. And the restore option allows you to go to a last known healthy state automatically. And this is really powerful. Think about your remote user that's located in a different location. They don't have the typical access to an IT help desk to be able to get back to a known working productive state. These are self-service actions that you can deploy for your customers and for your users that allow them to address an issue and be back up and running within minutes without having to engage or escalate to the help desk. So the restore feature essentially restores you to a known good point, both the user volume and the root volume. The rebuild option essentially allows you to reconstitute the entire workspace. So we'll basically build a new machine. We'll provision it based on the latest and greatest master image that you've provisioned, and we'll restore the user's data from the backup. But essentially this is allows you to get back to a completely clean or up-to-date machine image configuration while preserving the end user's data. And of course, I can decommission and terminate the workspace, or terminate it and reprovision it from scratch if need be. And so, of course, these are various tools that are, non-volatile, semi-volatile, very volatile. These are different things that you may or may not, will not want your users to do, but you have a lot of power here in terms of how you automate and how you allow users to take more control and to be self-sufficient. And this just means less help desk escalations, more productivity. If a user in the field had a problem with the laptop, they might be down for several days, especially if you can't ship them a replacement. Here, they can be back up and running in 15 to 20 minutes. And so that's immeasurable in terms of productivity when you think about at scale how often PCs fail. This is really why customers are looking at workspaces to modernize and move away from those traditional challenges. So with that, let's jump over to a demonstration of the WorkSpaces end user experience. And so hopefully you can see this okay. This is the WorkSpaces client app for Mac. We offer this for Mac, Windows, Chromebook, Android, iOS, all those different client options that you saw in the administrative console. So I'll log in using my AD credentials. And I'll utilize, in this example, a multi-factor code. So I have a YubiKey in my example, but we work with a range of different multi-factor options, both physical and virtual tokens. And so with my user credentials, with my multi-factor, I'm able to launch my WorkSpaces session. And so let me go ahead and resume share here, and I'm going to share the WorkSpaces console, or sorry, the WorkSpaces screen. Hopefully you can see this. Here we go. And so now I'm inside my workspace. So this is now my personal desktop in the cloud. I have access to this resource. It is only provisioned for me. And so I can launch my email, I can launch other applications, access data securely on the network that has been made available to me, just like I was sitting in an office location. I do not have the ability to move any data outside of this screen into my local device. I can't copy and paste, I can't share that information. So it's highly secure. I do have the ability, of course, to leave this as it is, so I can kind of work on work on my applications, work on my data. I can disconnect the session, move to a mobile device. Let's say I want to re-log in from an iPad because I happen to be remote. Maybe I'm multitasking. These days I'm helping my child with virtual school and playing teacher, and I also need to continue to work on my desktop, and so I can log in with my tablet. The cool thing about a workspace is it's entirely persistent. So application state, data, everything stays for the user, even in an auto stop mode, and allows me to jump between different client devices, locations, and it just stays with me and I can pick up right from where I left off. I have access to data, and I have access to services like WorkDocs through here. So this is an example of WorkDocs, which is again our secure enterprise file share and sync and collaboration service. In this example, I'm using WorkDocs as a mapped drive. It's called WorkDocs Drive. And so in this example, I'm accessing this, but there's no underlying infrastructure to manage. This is all backed in the WorkDocs service and our object storage. And so everything is synchronized locally. Of course, if it's happening from a workspace, it's all very snappy because all the data is co-located. You control the region that it all lives in, where that data exists. But it gives me the ability to access my user data, documents that are being shared with me. I can collaborate, I can share information with internal and external parties through a very familiar file share experience. And so this is really the experience that is helping a lot of our customers move to that remote work scenario, provide equal or better productivity than you would get with a traditional PC, but keep the data centralized and really modernize how you procure and think about the PC lifecycle, how you bring on new users, and how you think about agility for those temporary and contingent scenarios. So let me jump back to the presentation. I just want to go over a few offers that we have right now. All right. Okay. And so we do have some special offers for workspaces right now. Through September 30th, we are offering a free use of workspaces for up to 50 users. And so if you do have a need to either do a proof of concept or a trial of workspaces just to see how it's working, you can do that for 50 users. If you have a small project that you're looking to move forward with quickly over the next couple of months, this is an offer that you can take advantage of. It does include performance bundle, value bundle, and also Linux as well. And so this is a great way for you to try workspaces at no cost, or also implement small use cases to address certain needs that you may have right now at this time. We have a similar offer from AppStream, and so we do offer a free tier for AppStream, and you can take advantage of up to 40 hours per month. You can also contact AWS. We have additional programs that are more tailored and specific to your use cases. So if you are looking for an opportunity to evaluate AppStream for your needs, we're happy to help. And we are also offering a special offer with WorkDocs. And so every user, up to 50 users, will receive a terabyte of storage through end of September. And so again, if you're thinking about a proof of concept or a way to help your users collaborate, share data, both internally and externally, we are offering that solution and that offer through September. With that, let me turn it back to Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Andrew, for sharing that wealth of knowledge and those offers. Much appreciated. So we are going to move into Q&A right now. We've got a couple of questions that we can dive right into. This first question is from Tina. Can the workspaces be configured to allow document download and upload?
So today, the way we've designed workspaces is that data is not available to be moved outside of the desktop itself. And so that is for security purposes. Most of our customers enjoy the benefits of not having the ability for data to be moved out. That being said, we do have some capabilities that are upcoming to enable certain scenarios by permission only, where that might be possible. What we see as a common pattern is to take advantage of cloud storage. And so if you happen to be utilizing WorkDocs or other cloud services and you want to be able to move files in and out to the end user's local device, that can facilitate that. Additionally, our AppStream service does provide the ability for drag and drop into a session. So it's really about sharing data for a specific business process or use case. AppStream does provide drag and drop file share by permission only. And so that feature has to be enabled and entitled. But if you do want that ability, AppStream can facilitate that. But please engage our team. We'll be happy to dive into your use case and explore that further, especially on some upcoming features that may help in that area.
Great, thank you. And on to our next question here. Could you talk a little bit about Amazon Smile, the Amazon Smile program?
That's probably not a question I'm best equipped to address. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, no
If,
worries.
you have any others that can address that, but that's something we can definitely follow up on.
Okay, great. Well, here's another question. What about, can a customer bring Windows licenses into WorkSpaces?
Customers can bring their own Windows licenses. So if you have those investments already, we do offer a bring your own license program so that you can take advantage of license portability. In that scenario, we do run WorkSpaces in a dedicated tenancy model to accommodate Microsoft licensing restrictions. And so that is absolutely a program that you can take advantage of.
Awesome. And another question, is the hourly WorkSpaces mode persistent or non-persistent?
That's a common question we get. We see a lot of times where there may be an assumption that because it's auto stop that we're recycling the infrastructure or terminating that resource when it's not being used. What actually happens with the workspace in an auto stop mode is when you log out of that session, the machine stays, and so it's just as persistent as an always on workspace. What we do essentially is hibernate or stop that workspace. We actually preserve the application state and all the data. So even in an auto stop model, when you come back to the workspace, it's right where you left it. All the data applications are right where you left it before you disconnected. It's very similar to kind of closing your lid on your laptop, right? You walk away for a few minutes, it hibernates, you come back, everything's where you left it. Auto stop is exactly the same way. We don't change the persistence model. Everything is consistent. The only real difference is how you pay for it. Obviously, auto stop is geared for those kind of sporadic or occasional use scenarios. There is also, of course, a short delay for the workspace when it starts up again in an auto stop model, because it has to warm up from that kind of hibernated state, which takes a couple of minutes. That can also be scheduled as well. And so if you need a scenario where you need to have those machines warmed up and ready for a particular event or a scenario, those are things you can control on a schedule if need be.
Excellent. All right, let's just take this last question here. Can I change my workspace configuration if it needs changing?
So you're never locked in with any workspaces option. And so if you need to reconfigure CPU, memory, storage, image, operating system, software, those can all be adjusted and managed. And the powerful thing about workspaces, that can be done down to the individual level. And to the extent that you want to promote it, those can be self-service activities so that your users can stay productive, take more control, and eliminate a lot of the maintenance and IT administrative burden.
Excellent. Thanks for filling us in with those questions. I know we've got some more questions. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so we will do our best to follow up with any unanswered questions there. Before we wrap, I just want to send out another reminder about our special resource page at TechSoup.org. It's for nonprofits impacted by COVID-19. And here you'll find tools to support remote work, policy resources, webinars, and much more. We've just updated this page, so do check it out. We'll include that in the chat once more. And just our other upcoming events that you should be in the know about. So tomorrow we have a TechSoup Talk, which happens on Facebook. So if you head on over to Facebook and then TechSoup, you will see a reminder on our video page for this talk on addressing food insecurity with a community-designed mobile app. So that's happening tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then on this Thursday, August 13th, we have a webinar on how to rethink products and services through equity design. And next week, we'll be doing another TechSoup Talks via our Facebook page on our online organizing event series. So we're going to be giving you a preview of what's to come. We'll be sharing some things around tools and tactics to help organize your community online during these times. So check out all of our events. You can see all of our upcoming events and past events at TechSoup.org/community-events. And we've just dropped that into chat. With that, thank you so much for tuning in. We do have a survey. If you can please complete that survey, that just takes a few minutes and it really helps us in preparing for future webinar content. We'll drop that in the link and you'll also be redirected once you X out of your Zoom. Thank you so much again, Andrew, for being here with us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thanks again to everyone for joining us. Stay safe, take care, be well, and we will see you on a future TechSoup event. Bye-bye.